This is Special Prosecutor Larry Teitelman.
I'm the only lawyer ever to obtain a court ruling that a president of the United States committed a crime.
For truth, for competition.
As a young lawyer, I helped break up AT&T. That's why you have all your cell phones today.
For sovereignty, for the Republic.
I'm the guy who at Judicial Watch, which I founded, uncovered the Chinagate scandal. Millions of dollars going to the Clinton campaign, corrupting our political system.
For the privacy of citizens.
And I'm the only guy to have enjoined the National Security Agency from mass surveillance on hundreds of millions of Americans.
Tearing it up.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
Bringing it back.
We're going to take this country apart and put it back together again in the way envisioned by our founding fathers.
It's not just talk.
We're not just regurgitating news stories. Larry Teitelman, special prosecutor, is making the news.
And now, here's Larry.
Welcome to this week's edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Teitelman. A lot of things are happening out there. The nation is under siege. We are in a revolution, no doubt about it. Of course, the left started it, and the right, hopefully peacefully and legally, will finish it. I have with me today my very good friend, my colleague, Judah Friedman, who works with Ben Stein. He's a writer. He's a producer. We have our own show, Larry Teitelman for Everyone, this podcast. Sometimes, whenever we can, we're stepping it up. We recently interviewed Laura Loomer, the great conservative activist, the fearless one. And we're doing a lot of other things. But what I really thank is Radio America, because they allow me to tell the truth. As I say every morning in my podcasts, they tell the truth as I see it. And it's time to tell the truth. Now, I want to introduce Judah. Say hello to the audience. You'll be on again every now and then because we're going to be doing this show. And tell a little bit about yourself, and then let's get into the main topic today, which is racism can apply not just to blacks, not just to Native Americans, not just to other people, but it can apply to white people as well. And it's not funny, but we're going to explore that issue because, frankly, it's out of control. Judah, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, Larry. Thank you for having me on and joining you this morning or today. And I'm a contributor for AM Greatness, as amgreatness.com. I obviously also host a podcast with you, Larry Teitelman for Everyone. And this topic is extremely interesting and extremely timely right now, considering I'm a huge baseball fan, and I am not watching baseball right now.
Well, we see what's happened. We see what's happened with professional sports, and it's not just professional sports. I wrote a column this week. You can find it at LarryTeitelman.com. You can find it at freedomwatchusa.org. And, of course, you can find it at WND.com. And I also thank WND.com because they also let me say what needs to be said. A number of years ago, I wrote a column for Newsmax. It was called Teitelman's Court. It's still up there. But they tried to censor nearly everything that I wrote. It's run by Chris Ruddy. Chris Ruddy gave $1 million to the Clinton Foundation. Unbelievable. Claims to be conservative. He basically just sucks up to anyone who will get him ahead. But I don't want to knock people on this show. I want to talk about what's really happening now. And we'll see that. And we're going to have a guest later on, Andrew Teitelman, who's my co-counsel in a case that I brought for Philadelphia cops. I've had Philadelphia cops in my family, obviously. I know all about what goes on in Philadelphia. And we brought it for reverse discrimination. And what we are seeing today is a push by the ultra-left, radical blacks who don't represent the majority of black people. Most black people are good. Most black people are religious. Frankly, they have more courage than the whites. The whites have been running away from what's going on. But we have to put our foot down. And I got to tell you, Judah, who spends a lot of time in Beverly Hills, particularly with Ben Stein, witnessed just a few weeks ago these barbarians, I will call them, and Trump has it right, they're animals, and they were mostly whites, I would say, ultra-leftist whites, who came into neighborhoods of Beverly Hills wearing T-shirts saying, "Eat the rich." Well, who are they, Jeffrey Dahmer? I mean, these people are talking about killing rich white people. Obviously, mostly whites live in Beverly Hills, and perhaps someday it'll change. That would be good if it did. But today, that's the case. And we see them attacking everybody that they can find. They have taken the position. They've become like Farrakhan. They've adopted his ideology that white people are evil, that we're born with a genetic gene which makes us inherently racist, and therefore anything you do against them, whether it's disparage them verbally, whether it's attack them physically, whether it's to even kill them, eat the rich, is totally justified. That is payback for centuries of discrimination. Well, there have been a lot of groups that have been discriminated against, including Judah and my group, Jewish people. We built the pyramids. We were slaves too, but we're not out there pillaging and destroying. That goes back to Egyptian times, set my people free, finding the promised land. Well, you know what? Radical blacks should understand that they are free today and they should behave in society as they should. But it's not just them. It's radical atheists. It's radical feminists. It's radicals of the Jewish left, ironically. Biggest threat to the Jewish people are the Jewish left. Who brought you Marx? Who brought you Trotsky? Who brought you Alinsky? And it's other radicals out there, radical Muslims from all stripes. And they're taking this country down. They figure they're going to seize control. First, they're going to attempt to defeat President Trump. Then they take control. And then they want to build it in their socialist, communist, gulag, Soviet-style image. That's my take. And I'm going to let Judah speak right now, too. But I'm leading it up. I'm teeing it up right now because you see, the Washington Redskins have been extorted into calling themselves just the Washington football team. Now, obviously, Daniel Snyder is a terrible owner, but he's doing the right thing, holding the line on the Redskins. He's trying to wait for this thing to pass over to reintroduce the Redskins as the name. That's why they have this interim name. Disney signed a first look agreement to do a documentary on Colin Kaepernick, that racist, anti-Semite, third-rate quarterback that had no future, so he decided he'd become radical. The NBA now has Black Lives Matter written all over its courts. I will not watch or go to any NBA game, and they can put disparaging remarks about whites and others on their jerseys. Major League Baseball has 2 national anthems now, one for American people and one for other people, presumably for radical blacks. I mean, this is going on and on and on. And the irony is that it's the conservative blacks. It's my friends like Alan Keyes. It's like Demetric Penny. It's like many others out there, Candace Owens. They're the ones that are pushing back. The whites are running for the exits. They're begging for forgiveness. They're getting down in a crouched position saying, don't hurt me. We will give in. And the president, at least until the present, and I have to say, I am very doubtful that he has sent a lot of federal agents to major cities. He already had federal agents in these cities, hundreds of them. Every major city has an FBI presence there. They have a Bureau of Land Management presence. They have a Department of Homeland Security presence. This is cosmetic. The president's playing political games, in my opinion. Judah may disagree with me on that. He's hoping that the Democrats destroy themselves. But, that's not right. He's the president. He has to step up to the plate. I love the president. Personally, I want him to win. I support him. But his supporters are leaving him because I know I'm talking to them because they don't see him in charge of either that or COVID-19. Different message every single day, and different message with regard to these people trying to destroy the country as well. So, Judah, give me your 2 cents here, but I'll tell you something. The country's never seen this. We're in a state of war. The right has not declared violent war against the left. We at Freedom Watch are trying to avoid that, and we're going to talk about the legal and peaceful actions we bring. But I do believe that it's not far off that we're going to have violence from all sides in the streets. It's going to be bloody, as Jefferson predicted would happen once again. And we have to do everything we can to try to head it off. And to do that, the president needs to step up to the plate, not play political games.
Bring up
Go ahead,
Larry, to bring up what you're speaking about, there's two important factors, right? Look who helped start the civil rights movement. We're 2 Jews. And without the help of the Jewish community, there is no civil rights movement, which is ironic that it's come back to bite us in the royal tuchus. And I had written a piece a couple days ago basically saying when your spiritual guides are Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and Louis Farrakhan, and you wonder why you haven't progressed, there is no need to look any further than you have picked the murderer's row of anti-Semites and racists as your leaders. And, the Black Lives Matter movement, when they ask for they're saying to us, support us, well, they're calling us, they're being bigots and anti-Semites towards us. And, obviously nobody's reporting on this. It's not popular to call them out on these types of things, but this is prevalent in that community. There's no doubt about it.
Well, absolutely. In fact, the president made a really good remark last week because, all this talk about renaming military bases, removing statues of George Washington, of Thomas Jefferson, our great founding fathers. It can go on and on and on. Christopher Columbus, all this other stuff. So somebody asked him at a press conference, one of these leftist reporters, well, what are you going to rename Fort Bragg? Sarcastically. And he says, well, I have a good idea. Why don't we name it Fort Al Sharpton?
Right. That's right. So, and it's a great answer. And I'm a New Yorker. I'm originally a New Yorker. I was there during the Crown Heights riots. I remember what he did with Tawana Brawley, and I believe it was Stephen Pagonis who ruined the police officer's life. He was responsible for Yankel Rosenbaum's death. I remember when Jesse Jackson called New York Jaime Town. And, these are their spiritual gurus. If you look at every funeral that's ever, whether at George Floyd's funeral, whether at any funeral, these are the sultans of disaster that are leading the community. And you're right, your friends like Alan Keyes, the late Niger Innes, they're always looked at and, scoffed and laughed at. And who is it? Larry Elder, who has a new documentary out called Uncle Tom.
Well, you're absolutely right. We'll be right back with the second segment of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Dangerous.
Don't care. Use the court and the law.
Lethal.
This is bad.
Special Prosecutor
Very bad.
Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
We're talking about how the left reacts to conservatives, libertarians, people of faith, and others who disagree with them. And we know that for African Americans who are conservative, whether it's my friends Alan Keyes, Armstrong Williams, whether it's Candace Owens, whether it's Demetric Penny, my brave policeman cop in Dallas, Texas, who sued Farrakhan. Case was dismissed, believe it or not, by an African-American judge, Sam Lindsay, Democrat appointee. And then another one I brought for the father of a fallen cop, Patrick Zamarripa. His dad is Enrique. That was dismissed by a Trump judge. And the Trump judges, as you'll see in my new book, Whores, Why and How I Came to Fight the Establishment, Forget the Scandalism Industry, they're little better than the Obama and the Clinton judges. They have no courage. And that's what we need today. We need courage. And just the other day, I was doing an audio version of this book so people could hear it. Elderly people sometimes.
I was able to hear it, and it's incredible.
This book is out. It's being pre-ordered right now. You can find it at Amazon.com. You can find it at BarnesandNobles.com, all major booksellers. I urge people to buy it. You won't hear me on Fox News. I've had differences with them over the years, so I can't promote it that way. What it's about, and I'll let Judah also give his thoughts on this because I want them, is that the executive branch of government, and of course it's been applied against the president himself, this deep state, which is primarily run by the intelligence agencies, the deep state intelligence agencies, to destroy everybody, whether it's with the Steele dossier or whether it's with Fusion GPS or wiretapping the Trump Tower or intercepting the president's phone calls to the Ukraine. They are a force more powerful than the president of the United States. It's George Orwell's 1984. And when I got two preliminary injunctions against the NSA under Obama, the judge actually referred to it as almost Orwellian. Then you have the legislative branch of government, which is composed of a bunch of court jesters, evil court jesters. There's a movie, Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex But Were Afraid to Ask by Woody Allen. There's a scene in there because he plays the court jester. And the king says, "Bring me the fool," which is Woody Allen. Well, unfortunately, the fools have already come, and they're on Capitol Hill. They're corrupt. They stuff money into their pockets. They accomplish little to nothing. And then, of course, you have...
Larry, I just want to say, give you a kudos, because for a long time, I'm a Fox News watcher. But if you were to watch Fox News every night from 6 p.m. Pacific time to 9 p.m. Pacific time, or whatever that is on the East Coast, and you would watch Hannity for the past better part of 2 years, you would have thought indictments are coming tomorrow, and you were the one that made me aware that it's never going to happen. No matter how many times Lindsey Graham is on there, Sarah Carter, John Solomon, or any of these folk are promising that, and it's almost like it's almost like jerking the viewer and teasing them to the point where you give them a amount of false hope. And Larry, you've taught me nothing is ever going to happen.
Well, that's right. So that's the kicker here, is that we have two branches of government that are totally corrupt, and we have a judiciary, and this is the thesis and the reality of the book. The judiciary is federal judiciary corrupted. They are put in place through political patronage, large campaign contributions. They pay the favor back to the benefactors. And the answer, unless you break through every now and then, and I have, obviously, but it's quite rare, that is not the solution. It's the problem, the judiciary. So therefore, we the people need to rise up. We need to use vehicles like citizens' grand juries. We need to come up with another system of selecting and policing federal judges. They do not have lifetime immunity, contrary to popular belief. They're there only for good behavior under our Constitution. Their immunity should be removed. They have no immunity either. The Supreme Court gave it to themselves and gave it to lower courts and did it so illegally. So therefore, read the book, because, and Judah just touched on it. Get up off the couch, turn cable news off, whether it's Fox News, MSNBC, or CNN, or whoever, and join Freedom Watch's Justice League or some other cause and wage a peaceful second American revolution, and do it quick. Because as we said in the first segment, this country is slipping into an abyss, and it already has slipped into that abyss. And Judah watches it. He's a great prognosticator of what's happening, and so is his colleague, Ben Stein, who's also a friend of mine. Obviously, Ben's extremely bright. That's where we are right now. We're in a war.
And now, 4 words that make corrupt politicians make wee-wee in their little pants.
Transparency and the rule of law will be the touchstones of this presidency.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
Special Prosecutor Larry Klayman.
Be the one who makes our country great again. Go to freedomwatchusa.org and donate.
We're back with my colleague, my new very good friend, a very brave lawyer. There are very few brave lawyers in this country. Most of them just want to make money, like the court jesters on Capitol Hill, stuff money into their pocket. They hope that all of the bad things that are going on in the world are going away. Frankly, they're clueless. But this lawyer, Andrew Teitelman, is a real freedom fighter. And he's from my birthplace of Philadelphia, I'm happy to say. People should go to Philadelphia. I try not to go to Washington anymore unless I have to for court cases. But, right down the street, right across the street from the courthouse there where we just brought a case, the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, the district court, is Independence Hall. And that is so much more hallowed than anything you find in Washington, D.C. I mean, this is where our freedom began, in Philadelphia. And it may be where our freedom ends. And that's the scary part of it. Because occupying City Hall is a mayor, an ultra-leftist mayor hack, by the name of Jim Kenney. And then you have a district attorney who was put in place with the money of George Soros, a self-hating Jew, an anti-Semite, who, along with his father in World War II, confiscated the property of Jews going to ovens and gas chambers of Hitler. This is the district attorney in Philadelphia, Larry Krasner. Sorry to say he has my same first name. Then you have police chiefs. Former police chief Richard Ross, who was removed over sexual harassment allegations, and the new one, if you can believe this, whose name is Danielle Outlaw. Perfect name. Where does she come from? She comes from Portland, Oregon. She was the police chief there, African-American female, ultra-leftist. She was put in place to replace Richard Ross. And what did they do? About a year ago, on or about July 19th, a group called the Plainview Project, which we think is also financed by Soros, hacked the private social media accounts of Philadelphia police. They've done it around the country. It's also happened to Demetric Penny and others in Dallas and other major cities. Hacked it illegally. It's a crime. Their private accounts handed over social media postings, which with regard to our clients were not racist. And the mayor, who was then up for re-election, and also the district attorney, who's on a jihad. By the way, the U.S. attorney there, a Republican appointed under George W. Bush, absolutely despises the district attorney, and he's been very critical publicly. And the police chief, Richard Ross, without probable cause that our clients had done anything wrong, or shall I say due process, fired them, just fired them, didn't give them any due process. Well, this case has percolated for a year. 6 policemen came forward, asked me to represent them. And then I got to know Andrew. I got to know him through Charlie Strange, our brave client who sued the Taliban and has sued Iran over the shoot-down of Extortion 17 and sought truth about the death of his son, Michael Strange, who was a NSA cryptologist working with SEAL Team 6, shot down in the Tangi Valley. Long story, you know about it. You can read about it at freedomwatchusa.org. Never any explanation from the Obama Defense Department, or for that matter, any Republican Defense Department. We're still pursuing that. Anyway, I got to know Andrew. And Andrew's very brave, and he's my co-counsel in that case. And we sued for a lot of different things. Defamation, our clients were called racists, homophobes, Islamophobes. While at the same time that they were being fired, there were minority policemen, such as African-American female policemen, who posted something which said that white people shouldn't bother wearing masks for COVID-19. They should just wear the hoods of the Ku Klux Klan, because that's who they are. All white people are racist. Nothing happens to her. Nothing happens to Muslims that are making racist attacks on everybody, police officers. But yes, the white cops mostly are fired. So we brought a case for discrimination against white cops under our civil rights laws. And we sued for defamation, and we sued for breaking into social media accounts. And we filed a lawsuit just this week. And Andrew's co-counsel on that. And just yesterday, and I want to get Andrew's thoughts on that, and then Judah, you weigh in too, mysteriously, the case which was randomly assigned to a federal judge appointed by Bush the dad, George H.W. Bush. I figured, okay, maybe we'll get a neutral judge here. All of a sudden, as I get off an airplane, was assigned to an Obama appointee. As the French would say, quelle coïncidence, what a coincidence, right? So, Andrew, give me your thoughts on what's going on here. I mean, you've lived in Philadelphia full time. I escaped when I was 18. Okay, I love Philadelphia. I want to bring it back to being the city of brotherly love, not the city of brotherly hate, which is what it is today. Weigh in on this, and I want Judah's thoughts too, because Philadelphia is at the epicenter of white racism, like people that are racist against whites, against Jews, against everybody you can imagine right now.
So, Larry, first, thank you for having me on your program. And I want to say it's a privilege to be able to work with you and Freedom Watch with the 6 police officers who we are now attempting to have civil rights restored for. And there is so much to say about how the country got where it is now. And I don't consider myself brave. I thank you for those words, but I didn't really start doing issues advocacy until I turned 60 a little over a year and a half ago. And I look back on myself and I realized that what you said before was more true about me, chasing money, chasing prestige. And I've always had this gnawing instinct that I was missing what was important. And now I feel like I'm on the right track. So it is a privilege to be part of this case. As for the machinations of what goes on in the court systems, whether it be at the state level or the federal level, allegedly cases are assigned based on a wheel. A random case comes in, it gets randomly assigned. I have seen other cases moved from one judge to another. Sometimes it's purely administrative. Sometimes there's a question mark associated with it. I believe that this one has a question mark. They're probably going to tell us that the judge it was originally assigned to was a senior judge. This is probably going to be a larger matter, so senior judges have the ability to pass on cases if they feel they'll be overloaded. We'll probably hear a whole bunch of excuses. But something that you and I spoke about is probably closer to the truth, which is they will look for any way possible to eliminate this case at the earliest possible stage. And I'm willing to stand up and be taken down with the case if I have to be, because there is so much implicated by this that we deserve our day in court. Our clients deserve their day in court. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure they get one.
Well, that's right, Andrew. And of course, behind the Iron Curtain, the evil version of the Wizard of Oz is Barack and Michelle Obama in their $8 million plus home in Colorado, Washington. They are pulling the strings on what's going on right now with regard to radical African-American attacks on everybody in sight. And I might add, these are not the majority of African-American people. This is a minority. African-Americans, like I said earlier in this show, are good people. They're religious people. They themselves are being victimized with black-on-black crime. They understand. But Obama, he's the puppet master. During his administration, there was an open door to Al Sharpton. There were pictures of him smiling with Louis Farrakhan, and I want Judah to weigh in here too, that were hidden in the 2016 election. In the 2008 and 2012 elections that elected him president. He is a very hateful individual. And I can tell you something, when a case goes to an Obama judge, I've had a pleasant experience recently in New York with Chief Justice Roy Moore, where we have an honest Obama judge. I had to go off to him. It's going forward against Sacha Baron Cohen, who defamed my client as a pedophile who's not. But it's extremely rare. And you can guess with almost 95% certainty how a case is going to come down based upon who appointed that judge. And that goes on the right, too. You can tell that way as well. It cuts both ways. So, this is an ominous sign. But we're going to John Roberts. We have to. Excuse me?
I said, can you say John Roberts? You said it cuts both ways.
Oh, it does. It cuts both ways. Well, he's a closet liberal. He's a closet other ways as well, people think. But the thing that's happening right now is that we're going to be fighting. If we have to go to state court, if we go here, we go there, we go to the court of public opinion. And we are now having other police officers come our way that want to join this case. We can convert this case into a class action. Judah, give us your thoughts on people like Andrew who have stepped forward to save this country.
Larry, you brought up something very interesting. And I look at it more than the Obamas. I look at the media being culpable more than, and the university systems in our country being more culpable than anything than the Obamas or anybody could have brought upon us. The media's narrative, the university's narrative has been going on for the better part of 50 years. The right has lost the culture war. And until we can figure out a way to win that back, I don't see it happening for quite some time. If it's not for patriots like the two of you, I mean, I guess it starts with 2 or it starts with 3. I don't see an ending in sight because there is no honest media reporting right now.
No, there's not. And you don't get it from Fox News either. You hit it before because Fox, you see, tries to boost its ratings and get people to come back by giving them false hope that things are going to happen. This is what Hannity does, and I got to tell you, I mean, Tucker Carlson, I have my issues with him because he helped defame Jerry Corsi, my client, for Roger Stone. I have my issues with others over there too, but Hannity is the worst, okay, because he just simply sells himself with his arrogance every night, and it's the same thing over and over again. They're not telling the truth. Just last week, Jessica Tarlov comes on, I forgot the name of the show, with Harris Faulkner, defames
outnumbered
Chief Justice Roy Moore again, calls him a pedophile. Tarlov, I can't listen to hear her voice. It grates on me like a knife. And I asked them to correct it, and they're so arrogant they won't do it. So they're going to get sued again. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, I call the shots as I see them. I don't care what side it is. You commit defamation against my clients, you're going to get sued. And that's the way it has to be. But you're right, Judah, and you weigh in too, Andrew, on this, is that we now have a culture where people of faith, people who want to have an honest and ethical country, as John Adams had said, without ethics, morality, and religion, there will not be a lasting liberty, is that we are swimming upstream. The country has been taken over, a la Atlas Shrugged, by people who want to dumb it down. In the University of California, throughout the entire system, you cannot say that we're a land of opportunity anymore. Makes people feel bad because, frankly, the California university system is controlled by communists, starting at Berkeley, the epicenter of communism. Look at my alma mater, Duke.
It's all the university systems. It's every single major college. It's every single major university from Wisconsin to, the Columbia. This is happening
don't even
all
get
over.
Me started on this. Don't even get me. I have an 18-year-old about to begin college, if college even begins this year, and I was trying to steer her to Hillsdale. I wanted to compromise with Gettysburg College, which is still somewhat in the middle. And she selected Temple University, which I graduated from. And while I am proud of her and her accomplishments, I wouldn't go there myself again, that's for sure. But they brainwashed our kids, and that's the public school system right now. This is it's a systematic attack on our system. It's been going on since before Atlas Shrugged was published, and they don't teach Atlas Shrugged anymore because
Larry,
they don't want to hear the truth.
He brings up a great point that I think we should continue discussing.
We have about 1 minute left, guys, on this segment, so try to keep it short.
The social rigging that's been done by the Democrat Party for the better part of 70 years, which truly is systemic racism, that they have kept a group of people down. And
well, they have. This is what we're fighting against. We have a big job to do. We need to save this country. I'm going to be back with the verdict section of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Judah, you hang on. Andrew, I'm going to have you back. We'll be right back with the verdict part of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman.
Before he was a trial lawyer, he sliced him and diced him.
People used to ask me, Larry, what caused you to start Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch, given the powerful forces in this country that put you at risk?
In a meat packing plant.
I'm the son of meat packers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I know how to slice and dice.
A very special prosecutor, Larry Klayman.
If you'd like to support Freedom Watch and this radio show, go to freedomwatchusa.org.
We're back with the verdict, fellow patriots, friends, true Americans. We are not summer soldiers. We are not sunshine patriots. We are people who are fighting to save our country from the vision of our founding fathers, which is being trashed. Not just their statues, that's just symbolic. Everything in this country is being trashed by the radical left. We are in a war. We want to fight it peacefully and legally. But we also have to be prepared for self-defense. And we've started at Freedom Watch a group called, it's a subgroup, the New American Militia, using Second Amendment rights to defend ourselves. And I urge people to be prepared, not to start it, but if they come after you, you have to finish it. Protect your family, because it's not going to be too long that they are in front of your house, asking for the keys to the house, the keys to the car, taking your property, and even killing you. Now, we will not fire a shot, but we will defend ourselves. And defending ourselves is what we're talking about in my new book. It takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. It's what we're talking about in our podcast, Larry Klayman for Everyone. We want to do it peacefully and legally. We need to use the courts with good judges who are not corrupted. We have to use citizens' grand juries. We've already indicted Robert Mueller. He will be tried once coronavirus subsides somewhat, and we can get together in groups. And you can bet that James Comey, this Lovebirds, Strucken Page, Clapper, Brennan, Obama, Biden. I have a lawsuit against Biden in Florida. We're trying to do what we can there. They will be indicted. They will be tried. They will be convicted. And we'll seek to peacefully and legally mete out the sentences, which we have the right to do. Now is not the time to watch Sean Hannity. Now is the time to turn it off and to get to work, because you won't even have the ability to watch Sean Hannity in the future. And Judah knows this because he's lived it. He's seen it. He's seen it out there in Beverly Hills, because that's crime center number one, because that's perhaps the most prestigious city in the world in terms of the entertainment industry. And they're going to go after that.
They're going to go after it too. Larry, I saw it as a kid too. Larry, I saw it as a teenager, as a child too, in Williamsburg. You know, with the Uncle Rosenbaum and the riots in Crown Heights. I mean, and I remember watching it, going, I'm watching something, but I'm hearing something differently. And I remember thinking to myself at the age of 13 or 14, going, how am I? I could see this, but I'm being told something different. And this is where I don't want to say I disagree with you. I have a little more faith that there is a silent majority out there that's being a little quiet right now. But come November,
well, that's the problem. That's the problem, Judah. I agree with you. There's a silent majority, but they're running for the exits right now. They're hoping, putting their heads down and saying, I beg you not to hurt me. Leave me alone. Right. We have to bring the silent majority into action, and that's what I'm doing with my book. It takes a revolution. Forget the scandal industry. It's time not to be a silent majority. The president has been a silent majority. I love the president, but you got to be president. You got to step up to the plate. I'm not going to sit there and be a groupie and a cheerleader like Hannity. I'm going to be there. And Tucker Carlson took some of my views. I sent him emails in the morning. He says, now it's time to act, Mr. President. But if he doesn't act, we have to act, and we want to act with him. We want to be his partner. So I agree with you. There's a silent majority, but if you wait too long, we're not going to have a country left. The silent majority needs to now be more than the vocal majority. They need to actually do something. So I urge people to go and buy the book. It's pre-ordered. You'll be able to get it, obviously, in print version, first paperback, then it'll be hardback, and it will come out before the election so you can read it. It's not an apology for anything that's going on by the Republican Party. It's by a conservative, a person of faith, someone who believes in this country, believes in our founding fathers. You can find it at Amazon.com, at BarnesandNoble.com. Purchase it. It tells the truth. And in fact, I don't beat my chest. I say, look, I barely scratched the surface. Now we have a job to do. So I want to thank Judah, and I want to thank Andrew Teitelman. These are brave people. I want you to join our Justice League. I want you to be like them, to be like me, and to be like a few others out there, because we need to save the country. So share this podcast, it is podcast, far and wide, and get the word out. Give the clarion call, and I'll be back next week. And God bless you with another special prosecutor with Larry Klayman. Thank you for listening to us.